So recently I did a video discussing the 10 Shadows technique, and I discussed in that video how Megami didn't have access to the entire 10 Shadows. All Shikigami that are involved are currently the Divine Dogs, Nue, Toad, Great Serpent, Rabbit Escape, Max Elephant, Tiger Funeral, Maharaga of course, Round Deer, and Piercing Ox. So those are the 10 Shadows, and Megami currently only has access to Rabbit Escape, Divine Dog Totality, Nue, Toad, Max Elephant, and he did have access to Great Serpent. Ones that we haven't seen at all is Tiger Funeral. Ones that we have seen are Maharaga in the anime and in the manga, Round Deer just in the manga, and Piercing Ox just in the manga so far. So that being said, what if Megami was able to have access to all 10 Shadows? How powerful would he be? How powerful would any 10 Shadows user be with all those Shikigami available to them? Now, if you watch my video covering the 10 Shadows technique, then you already understand how powerful a 10 Shadows user would be at their max potential, and just basically how powerful the technique and how versatile the technique is because of the Shikigami and what you're able to do with your Shadows. But what if Megami had access to those Shadows, right? So in this video, we're going to basically cover Megami, or us in a sense, acting as Megami, exercising the remaining Shikigami in order to get him full access to the 10 Shadows technique, and how he would be able to do this. So before we get into this, I need a favor from you guys. Do me a favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the noti bell. I guarantee you're going to be happy when you get notified that I have another video coming out, because this isn't just a video covering all Shikigami that need to be exercised. Nay, my friends, this is a part 1 to that, because it is already difficult enough to exercise not just Round Deer and Piercing Ox, but we have to figure out what Tiger Funeral in a sense is and be able to exercise it. So that's going to need a good bit of planning. Then in part 2 of this video, we're going to cover Maharaga, because there's no way in hell we could cover both in one video without that video being about an hour long. Roughly 45 minutes, but you guys get the gist. So watch out for part 2, because that's going to cover Maharaga getting exercised by Megami himself with the remaining Shikigami that he has access to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start this off with how we are going to plan to exercise these Shikigami. Okay, before we start our first exorcism ritual in order to summon Round Deer or Piercing Ox or Tiger Funeral to go ahead and exercise these Shikigami in order to make them submit to our will, we need to do one thing first. We need to, I guess a couple of different things. We need to figure out what version of Megami we are currently using in order to exercise these Shikigami. Depending on that version of Megami, we need to figure out which Shikigami we have access to, because Megami doesn't have all his Shikigami throughout the entirety of JJK. Because of course, if one of Megami's Shadows is exercised, then he no longer has access to that Shadow. And we already saw that he lost 2 of them. Well, technically it's like 1.5. And the last thing that we need to do is figure out if we are going to need assistance or not for each Shikigami. So the first step is figuring out which version of Megami we are going to be using here. So that means that we need to pick out the Megami either from the anime or the manga that would benefit us the most in this circumstance. Would Megami be able to exercise Round Deer, Piercing Ox, and Tiger Funeral earlier into JJK or later? And honestly, Megami found that drive to get to special grade levels once he got his domain expansion. He took more risks. He was still a tactician on the battlefield, but he took risks. And he kind of got that dog in him, which I love about him. So, and plus me and Megami share a birthday, so I kind of am a little bit biased with Megami. And even though in the manga he's not doing so hot, he is still one of my favorite characters, and he is still a dog, and I can't wait to put him on the wall. So that being said, Megami's gonna be the most powerful version of himself to me right when he got his domain expansion. So with a little bit of unhingedness going on there, I think that we can afford the Shikigami we've lost, because we did gain something from losing them. So with an unhinged Megami with a domain expansion, and Great Serpent being no longer with us, and one of the Divine Dogs no longer being with us, we got Divine Dog Totality, we got Megumi's Domain Expansion, Chimera Shadow Garden, and we got a Megami that is not scared to take on strong opponents like how he did with Toji. I mean, mind you, he did run with versus Toji at first, but who wouldn't? Like, in all honesty, who wouldn't? Like, Gojo was, like, pressed when he fought versus Toji the first time they fought. Geto was 100% pressed because he beat Gojo. So, like, I think that would be the most strongest version of Megami for this circumstance because, I mean, versus Maharaga, I'm going to need a lot stronger of a Megami, but that's what we're building him up to right here. Let's go ahead and just say from the jump, we're not going to need assistance. Sure, we can go ahead and play this kind of like the coward's way out where we take in Gojo into these exorcism rituals. We have Gojo exercise the Shikigami after we've studied them and learned their battle strategies and how to defeat them and all their abilities, even though Megami probably already knows all that because the Ten Shadows technique has been passed down through the Zenin family, and Megami definitely has access to information covering the Ten Shadows technique, because that's one of the little perks you get when you get inherent technique through the family tree. So Megami already has the info, we're going to say, and we're not going to need to go ahead and waste an exorcism ritual and have Gojo hollow purple these. Well, let's not hollow purple them because we're deleting them on an atomic level at that point. Let's not have Gojo hit them with a red and wipe them out and then resummon them to do it ourselves. Let's not do that. That's a waste of our time. Let's just be a dog and go in and exercise these Shikigami our damn selves. Okay, so Round Deer is definitely a good starting point because it is a massive, massive, massive benefit to have moving forward with the Shikigami that we are going to be fighting, because those Shikigami are mainly attack type Shikigamis, while Round Deer is a support type and it's easier to defeat. Now, Round Deer is still nothing to go ahead and laugh at because it is a massive deer that has positive energy just flowing from it, so it's able to disrupt any cursed object, cursed tool, cursed spirits around it, but luckily for us, our Shikigami are not affected by that positive energy, thus we don't really have to worry about it as long as we're not using a cursed tool like a katana versus it, or Megami's sword that he pulls out for close combat. So what we are going to, in fact, do is begin this exorcism ritual. And of course, when I say we, I'm talking about us being Megami. So when we start this exorcism ritual, what we're going to do is immediately, from the jump, summon Rabbit Escape. And we're going to surround this Shikigami with rabbits. We are going to create a tornado of rabbits. We're going to do something similar to what Megami did to blind Toji from that attack where he attacked with pure instincts. And we're going to go ahead and just climb that mountain of rabbits, make like a step for us. And when we get to the top, like the eye of the tornado, we are going to release our technique because Round Deer is going to be trapped inside. It's not going to know what's going on. It's going to be looking around a little bit confused, and we're going to be moving fast. So by the time we get to the top, or we can even have Nue fly us to the top even quicker. So by the time we get to the top, we're going to drop down, and right while we're dropping down, before Round Deer has a chance to notice what we are doing, we are going to release the rabbits and summon out Max Elephant and crush this thing. The reason we're doing all this is because, one, Max Elephant takes a lot of cursed energy and Megami cannot summon it while also having other Shikigami out, so we have to release the technique in order to summon Max Elephant. Two, we are trying to blind our opponent and keep him in one solid spot so that Megami is able to crush him. Three, that positive energy, obviously, it probably is healing the Shikigami itself, so we want to take it out in one shot because a delayed fight is only going to be a benefit for the opponent and not us. So if we continue this fight on and on and on, it's only going to hurt us in the long run because that opponent is healing constantly, and we want that perk. So to get rid of that massive plus for the opponent, because let's be honest here, Round Deer's strongest attribute is the fact that it releases so much positive energy. So if we can go ahead and one-shot it, then we don't have to worry about that, right? And our best one-shots for Megami so far are probably Max Elephant and Piercing Ox once we get Piercing Ox. But that being said, Max Elephant's an elephant. And an elephant is 5 tons or 11,000 pounds. I don't care how big of a deer you are. 5 tons landing on you, positive energy or not, GG. You're done. So chalk it up. Megami just got round here. And just like that, we're moving on to Pearson Ox. I gotta say, I'm really proud of us because we have access to RCT now. We have access to RCT. Megami has access to RCT now. Let's go. Because at the end of the day, if our arm gets blown off, boom, regrow it. If we have a bullet hole in our chest, boom, we're good. We're healed. If we lose our hand, boom, it's healed. We got our hand back. We're still summoning Shikigami. It doesn't matter. And we're not even using our own cursed energy. All of our cursed energy is still going into the fight and just to maintain Roundier in the background, just healing us. As long as we have Roundier, we're good. We don't have to worry about anything. We basically Hikari now. We have Idle Death Gamble going on, but it's in the shape of a deer behind us that could hold its own, probably. So we're good. We are solid. Great start. That being said, Pearson Ox has a one-shot. And what I mean by a one-shot, I mean like this thing could one-shot people. So let me explain what Pearson Ox does in case you haven't seen my 10 Shadows Explained video. However, you should definitely go and watch that. But if you haven't yet, quick rundown. Pearson Ox's ability is if it's allowed to run in a straight line for X amount of time, it doesn't really matter. As long as it's allowed to run in a straight line, it has the ability to gain more and more cursed energy so that once it impacts a target, that impact grows in how much damage it does. So say he's running towards a building, right? If he only has, say, 50 meters to run towards that building, he might be able to crack it and do some damage. But say he has 200 meters to run before he hits that building, he's going to destroy the entire building. And that's what I mean by Pearson Ox. If you give it time and momentum, then that thing is going to hurt. So we're going to stop it from having that. We know its strength. We know its weakness. Let's exploit some things. Okay, so Pearson Ox exorcism ritual begins now. We start off with Pearson Ox just coming straight towards us because we know that's what it's going to do. But we don't care because we're going to summon Max Elephant from the jump this time. And we're going to have it hit it with its water just like it did in the Kyoto Sister event. So versus that man Noritoshi. So hit it with water so that basically we disrupt its movement from the jump. This way, Pearson Ox doesn't have enough momentum going for it to build up that cursed energy in order for it to be able to fight through this water. So we could assume that Pearson Ox is stumbling, if not off its feet. And then we're going to release Max Elephant, and we're going to do something bold here. We're opening our domain expansion. Chimera Shadow Garden is now open. So the reason we did this is because we want Megami to get that 120% buff right away. I understand that we're probably in an open field. That's probably where we're going to summon this thing. Yeah, sure, it gives it an advantage, and it gives us a disadvantage on the domain because we can't spread it out that far because it's not a complete domain. But we don't care about that right now. What we care about is the buff we just got from opening our domain. So with our domain being open, we're going to go ahead and summon Toad. Toad is going to go ahead and grab onto Pearson Ox and slam it. Because again, we're doing this quick because Megami is a tactician. He understands the battlefield. He knows what he needs to do in order to beat this thing. And the reason I say Megami can do all this thing is because he was able to react to Toji attacking him. And yeah, he got stabbed, but he understood that if he messed up the timing even slightly, he was dead. He's not dead. So put some respect on Megami, bro. Megami's able to do this thing. He's able to react pretty quickly. So for us to think that Megami couldn't be able to summon Max Elephant after he just started the exorcism ritual and summon Pearson Ox, for us to think that Megami could not summon Max Elephant, watch Max Elephant do its thing, and then open up his domain expansion during that time frame, and on top of that, summon Toad, which he summons Toad more than basically any other Shikigami other than Nue and the Divine Dog Totality. He summons Toad. Toad grabs Pearson Ox, slams it, and then Nue's going to come out. And because Nue has been shown to have two Nues inside of Megami's domain, we could assume that he's able to, in a sense, duplicate his Shikigami because there's not multiple Nue. There's multiple Toads. There's multiple Rabbit Escape. There's not multiple Nue. So I don't know how Megami does it, but he also made himself like a shadow clone. So that's kind of funny actually how he does it. His shadow clone is like liquid, like tangible liquid, while Naruto's shadow clone is like a puff gas. That's actually kind of funny. But Megami's able to do a whole shadow clone. So for him to make like a Shikigami out of his shadow, I mean, they're all just made out of his shadow. So like realistically, he just made another Nue. So if that's the case, I mean, 2 Nue is gonna come out instead of 1 because why not, right? So picture it: Toad slams Piercing Ox, 2 Nue come out, boom, hit it with electricity. Don't forget, Max Elephant's water was still in effect. We have our domain out, which is a tangible liquid of shadows. Boom, Nue, double electricity. Piercing Ox is paralyzed. Guess what just happened? Right after the impact and the paralyzed Piercing Ox tries to get on its feet, because we allowed it to get on its feet because it's not going to be able to charge, my man, Divine Dog Totality, pierces its heart the same way he did to the special grade curse when Megami first used his domain expansion. Piercing Ox added to the collection. Alright, so here is the wild card. Here's the last Shikigami on our list for today's video. It is Tiger Funeral. It is a Shikigami we have not seen by itself. We've seen it merged with Nue and Roundeer to create Agito. However, we have not seen the Shikigami by itself. We understand that this Shikigami, in my last video, I explained how this Shikigami is probably a female-like tiger, kind of like Tigress from Kung Fu Panda, because it has been shown to be white striped. It has shown to have female features, claws, standing on 2 legs, pretty tall. Agito had Nue's face and Roundeer's abilities, but like I said, Agito very much resembled a Tiger Funeral like appearance. So all that being considered, I'm gonna go ahead and say Tiger Funeral is fast, agile, strong, unhinged, aggressive, and I don't know if it has a special ability, but I want to say from what we saw from Agito that it doesn't. I want to say it's just a brawler. I want to say it's Divine Dog Totality's equal in that sense. So I would say it's probably top 3, top 4 strongest of Megami Shadows. But I want to say this Shikigami is going to come at us fast and hard. This Shikigami is going to come at us very quickly, very aggressively. So, setting the stage here, we're going to do Exorcism Ritual, Tiger Funeral, and the moment that we start this ritual, Divine Dog Totality is right next to us, and it's striking. Because Tiger Funeral is coming straight at us. Divine Dog Totality is going straight at it. And basically what we're trying to do is stalemate this. We're not trying to win off of this. We're not. We understand that we're not going to win off of this. We are trying to be equals with it. Because this Shikigami is probably faster and stronger than Divine Dog Totality. And we don't want to risk losing Divine Dog Totality to this Shikigami. So what we're doing is we're supporting Divine Dog Totality while Divine Dog Totality is fighting against Tiger Funeral until we reach a stalemate where Megami can easily, or as best as he can, do his domain expansion. Chimera Shadow Garden. Once Chimera Shadow Garden is open and Megami receives his buff, this is where our victory starts to set in. Because 2 things are happening. 1, Piercing Ox is set up in the background. 2, Toad is gonna help a lot. So Toad, or we could even do the Wells Unknown Abyss on this one. I don't care which one we do, but honestly, let's do the Wells Unknown Abyss. Because even though it's easier to destroy, it's quicker. It's a lot more agile. And we're not going to lose any Shikigami either way from this because of our domain. But we're going to have an easier time if we have the Wells Unknown Abyss grabbing onto Tiger Funeral. So what we want to do now is we want to get Tiger Funeral off balance. We want either 1 or 2 of its legs to sink into Megami Shadows into the domain expansion and keep it stable. Because we are doing something very, very shady in the background with Piercing Ox. So I'll explain that in a second. But what we're doing now is we're combating against Tiger Funeral, still Divine Dog Totality and Megami, and every single time we hit it, the Wells Unknown Abyss grabs onto its leg and tries to pull it into the shadow. Also, the tongues are grabbing it by when it tries to swing on us with an arm. When that arm gets cocked, boom, Toad grabs it, pulls it back. So, well, you know when I'm saying Toad, I'm saying the Wells Unknown Abyss, but I don't want to keep saying that, so I'm just going to refer to it as Toad for right now. But if I say Toad, you know what I'm talking about. Got it? Cool. So when Toad grabs it, boom, pulling it back, we're able to strike, getting off balance, grabs its leg, Toad grabs its leg, pulling it in a little bit more and more. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to keep this process up because eventually we're going to get it stuck. Once we get it stuck into the shadow, boom, we release Piercing Ox. I don't mean release it like release the technique. Nay. Piercing Ox is going to release as in start running. And Piercing Ox has actually been running this entire time. It's just it hasn't been running distance. It's been running in place. You're probably thinking like, oh, how is it running in place? That doesn't make any sense. Piercing Ox is going to be running. It's going to make distance. No. So we opened our domain expansion. We have complete controls of our shadows. So what we did with our shadow is we turned our shadow into a treadmill. You get it? So Piercing Ox is on a treadmill. He may be here, like standing, like running, but staying in place. But the shadow underneath it is just constantly moving. So it's moving like a treadmill, just moving. And instead of like a treadmill going like this, it's basically going like to the sides and coming back. So whether it's doing that or whether we're just feeding more shadows, it doesn't matter. But that's basically what we're doing in order to charge up Piercing Ox. So that entire time we were fighting Tiger Funeral, Piercing Ox was charging up its ultimate attack. So when it makes impact, it's over for Tiger Funeral. It's a one-shot kill. So if you haven't noticed, that's how we basically took out all the Shikigami, but that's what we needed to do in order to beat them. So by the time we get Tiger Funeral stuck, Piercing Ox is released to go run. Once it hits, because it will make impact, because we will make sure that Tiger Funeral is there for it to make impact, Tiger Funeral's done. That's it. We just got all three Shikigami. That's as simple as Megami can do it. Megami can get all three other Shikigami in order to fight against Maharaga and have a fair fight, or fair-ish, because Maharaga's a tank and that's a difficult fight. No matter how you chop it up, that's a difficult fight. So how do you guys think that I did exercising all other Shikigami that Megami currently has not exercised yet? Do you guys think that I did the right thing by not having Gojo basically step in and do a blueprint for us? Do you guys think that you would have just had an easier time having Gojo do all the work and then redoing it yourself, basically just doing what Gojo did, just a little bit different? Or do you guys think that it would have been a lot more difficult to exercise these Shikigami and Megami wouldn't have been able to pull it off? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the noti bell. And do not forget to be on the lookout for part 2 where we exercise Maharaga, because we will beat him. I mean, a 15-finger Sukuna had to beat him, but and Megami's not a 15-finger Sukuna, but we will beat him. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.